Hello, hello! My name is Scott Daniel, and I am the Executive Artistic Director for Mountain Theater Company and the Director and Scenic Designer for our production of The Burnt Part Boys. When reading the script, it was important for me scenically that the character, the burnt part, was front and center. I wanted that moment of tragedy in this community to ever affect every element of the scenic quality of our show. So the burnt part is the place that the entire unit is in, but each individual vignette, each scene through lighting and through sound takes us all over the great Appalachia to experience this fantastic show. And as each character travels through, you'll find each piece of their scenery or properties are all affected by the burn, some more than others, as we get closer and closer to the burnt part itself. A good starting point is figuring out the right palette, and I wanted, as the scenic designer, to create a palette almost like a canvas for everyone else's body of work. So to go in a wood tone, it's very gray, and I wanted something to feel very natural. We play with stonework in the costumes, but we play with a lot of wood and natural grain textures here in the scenic elements, mostly so that way we can see the affected burn, the embers and the char across those units. And then we bring in little pops of color toward the audience itself, because the entire theater is surrounded and encompassed by this scenery, this place, this setting. You find little bits of color as it gets closer to the ground, closer to the audience, which is the furthest away from the burnt part we have become. And so you'll see moss growing and little flowers, pops of yellow to represent new life growing through the tragedy. New joy sprouts each day. The purity of white comes through and plays through all of that. But the basic set, the set unit itself, was really a jungle gym. I wanted a place that everyone could play upon. The actors, the incredible lighting design team, even the sound can play in the space and make it as ambient as possible. There are two songs that drive the show. It's actually a motif that drives us through that's called the climbing song. We have climbing song 1 and climbing song 2, and each of our travelers experience this song and this movement and get drawn by the music, by the burnt part. They're pulled in by this musician representing the burnt part. And so we wanted to give them a lot of place to move. And our auditorium here at the Highlands Performing Arts Center is a really beautiful space to play in. It gives us highs, lows, and lots of levels. And so to play out there, we needed to represent that and replicate that here on the set itself. So that way, these characters who are sometimes singing at the same time, but are miles away from each other, can have significant distance without losing the power of sharing that moment collectively. So the collaboration element of creating the set, I get to work with a fantastic designer himself. Jeff Weber is an incredible scenic designer based out of Florida. He happens to own a shop that has been building our sets for the last couple of years. We approach our first meeting. I do a lot of research. These shows are typically chosen over a year before we even start the production process. I met with Jeff Weber early in 2023, in fact, when we went to build the show the first time, and I came at him with some sketches of mine, of strong idea of wanting to have a modular space where there was a single unit but elements that could bring us in and out, perhaps things reveal. I love stage technology. I love every element of it. I think it helps tell the story, from every sound that you hear to every single corner of every piece that you see. There's detail there to help tell that story. It's there for a reason. And so I wanted to have things that could become anything and live in this imaginary world. Although the actors, or the characters rather, are experiencing it in real life, the actors have to play a lot of pretend to go many, many miles on a 40-foot wide stage. So there's lots of pieces to play with. And so it started there on how many pieces did we need. And we figured out, you know what, we need 4 basic pieces. We need some chairs. And so there's these little kind of hints of moments that we knew we had pieces that moved, but what were we to build off from there? And so I collaborated with Jeff to figure out, okay, well, what was this kind of jungle gym going to look like? And how were entrances going to happen? And how was the magic where we've got a boat and someone on a tightrope at the same time? How are all of those things going to happen? So my kind of general idea and artistic vision became a sketch that when transferred over to him, he kind of starts to work through all the technical technical elements, and then his shop just does an incredible job at the artistry and the finish of each of these major set units. And when you see the show, you'll see just how much detail goes in to every single piece, and especially this beautiful set. To get the set from paper and from the shop into reality on stage, it takes some planning. Luckily, we had, in the previous year when we attempted to erect the show the first time, we had gotten up to the significant structure of the set without it being faced. So we knew how it needed to go up, and that's the biggest kind of hurdle to get over. So having a year ahead in that assisted us in having a real understanding of what team we needed. Bo, our director of production, along with our stage manager Kevin, really kind of led the team and took charge when it came to putting the puzzle back together. And it really was a puzzle. When we put everything away, knowing that we were bringing this absolutely fantastic show back, a show that this community really needs, we wanted to make sure that we were as efficient as possible to ensure that there was nothing holding us back from bringing it onto the stage again.
Hi, I'm Kevin Commander.
Hi there, I'm Bill Gerard.
And I am the stage manager and was on the Scenic carpentry team for the Burnt Part Boys.
I'm the director of production for Mountain Theater Company. So the first day was a lot of organizing all the pieces, ensuring that we had all of the pieces, and then getting a rough idea of where things were going to go. So that included doing a lot of stage measurements, a lot of marking, making sure that the pieces that we had were in good condition, noting what we had to do for touch-up painting later, and then knowing that we had to paint on the last day, kind of work backwards. What were some of the big elements that could go up first? In terms of spacing and fitting everything together, do we start downstage, do we start upstage, and then looking up and measuring and making sure everything is actually where it needs to be. And so it was a question of what small things can we knock out first so we feel good about the process, and then saving the longer things and kind of building into stuff that would take more and more time, more and more effort, more and more thought to complete accurately.
Our entire back wall is a giant puzzle piece. So we started with putting it together on the ground, making sure everything fit together, and then me and Bo got to work. We lowered in the batten and hung it with a couple of chains. And then once we got that up, we moved on to our platforms. There are 15 total, with the 3 in the center stage being a ramp. So that was kind of tricky to figure out. But we kind of just went through row by row. We started at the center in the back where the tallest platforms were, and we just kind of worked our way down.
So we definitely had unique engineering challenges with this, including the barn door, including constructing a ramp, including cutting all of the angles for all of our trim and facing that we all had to overcome. We loaded in on a Monday, and then the set was about 80% complete by Friday. It took about 32 to 40 working hours to get it all done. Just Kevin and myself doing a lot of that work with help from the rest of the team. Kevin stepping in as being a great carpenter for this.
This process in Hold showed me that I actually have carpentry skills and scenic skills that I may have forgotten that I had from before. It was really nice to kind of just take the reins and be put in charge of making sure that it happened. Bo and Scott both put their trust in me to make things happen, and sure enough, we got it done.
So after the set is installed, there's always extra layers to go on. And so there's little pieces that needed to be singed or burned and affected by what has happened 10 years ago in this town. And so there are little pieces that are from the 50s and little pieces from the 60s as we've seen time pass from our opening number to our second number in the play after the tragedy. But each of the furniture that you see around the space has all been burned through a theatrical technique of not actually using any fire at all. It's fascinating, but it was done right here on campus. And there's a unique pattern, so that way whenever the chairs are in any of their positions, they always create some sort of shape, whether it is the burning straight from the center of the dining room, it burns out almost as a reverse of a film kind of burning away, it burns out from the center. And when they go to their second position through staging the show, anything that touches the ground is burned from the embers up. And it just kind of gives this, the ground that they're walking on is affected by this tragedy every single day. We live with this for generations to come because a significant group of young people in this community lost their fathers. And so that leaves a scar behind, and I wanted to see that scar in the set dressing and in the properties throughout the show. Everything's period appropriate. It's all been slightly damaged or tinted, or anything that touches the mine has had a kind of a coal or burning effect added to it. Everything, again, built right here by MTC. One of the first elements in my mind actually was this fence. There is a moment in the play where a fence needs to come in and block our lead character from continuing on his journey. And there were lots of ways to do it, and we could have, built a wall or used chairs, and it felt like Les Mis. But we are in a space, and I love playing with light and playing with light fixtures. I think adding more elements on stage created an opportunity for us to tell even a deeper story. And so I created this fence with rope and barbed wire and ladders and signs and different types of lanterns or work lights from the period to create this wall that acts as a chandelier for the majority of our show, but flies in and creates this barricade that we're danced through and weave in and out. It also serves another purpose through the lights. All of the lights within the show, as we set dressed them, were put in a specific place. There are 4 lanterns that represent the 4 miners that we lose at the beginning of the play. There is an array of movement and placement of those lights to create a mountainscape throughout, so that's another kind of visual that's created between the lighting and scenic elements, along with incorporating the properties that help guide kind of the topography of the space. And then it also, as our Bert part, the guitar player, played by Bo, leads us through the set. He kind of ignites those lights as he walks across the space, so he's always lighting the path for these children to find their way to the burnt part to have their closure. There's also a new technical element we're really excited about to give us the opportunity to kind of rise up and down. So we have a lift that actually drops our miners down into the ground, and we see them kind of descend into the mine. We use it a couple of times throughout the show. It's only a few, but it is very, very effective, and it's a great effect for us to have for many shows to come. We're excited about that technology to see, along with the automation of the doors. The boat is so fun. There are a lot of fun little surprises that I don't want to give everything away, but there's lots of little things to see if you join us and experience this fantastic show with your family. What I am excited for people to see that isn't going to be very obvious right away are the chairs within the show and their placement and use throughout. We walk into the space with the show already starting, and you see a dining table set, the way that table is set, and each of those chairs and how they're used by the actors and which actors is very significant, at least it is to me. And I hope that the audience gets to take a look at that and watch those chairs move and who moves them throughout. And there's one chair in particular, one of my favorite little nuances and special moments of creating the space was the father's chair. His chair is grounded and planted deep into the stage. It is the embers and the burn effect is just from the legs, so it's almost holding it into place. The ever presence of that chair is to symbolize that even after someone leaves us, their strength and their presence is always with us. One of the things I absolutely love about scenic design is creating another character. That is what the set is, especially in a show like this where we have a unit set that has to be immersive. And so to create that space that is not just only effective for the storytelling, but really effective for the actor and for the other artists to bounce and create a space off of is what gets me excited about scenic design.